Hello and welcome to Inked by Jill. Today we are using Banner Blooms by Stampin' Up. Hello! So we're going to make another card using our Banner Blooms die. This time we're going to use this big element that has the banners in it. And then we're going to use one of the banner sentiments. And I'm probably going to do wishing you a happy birthday because I need a birthday card. So what you see here are ink blending sponges. You know, the old school kind. These have been washed and reused a lot. We're going to be using Granny Apple Green, Calypso Coral, Magenta Madness, Highland Heather, and Mango Melody. And what I'm going to do is ink blend the paper first, and then I'm going to set it aside to let it dry really good. You don't ever want to do a die cut and the paper still be even remotely damp. Die inks dry really quickly, but when you're ink blending, you're putting more ink than if you were just stamping. So I do like to let mine dry just a few minutes, and I'm talking like maybe 5-10 minutes. I'm not talking like an hour or anything like that. Just a couple minutes to make sure that my paper is really good and dry. What happens if you run your paper with a die through your die cutting machine and the paper is even remotely damp? You're not going to have a clean cut. It's going to fray and it's going to look bad. So we're not going to do that. We're going to set it aside to dry for just a few minutes. Now I have the old school ink blenders right now because I only have 3 of the really nice new ink blending brushes here, and I'm going to get some more, but I only have 3 for right now. So what I'm doing is I'm just using the old school ink blending methods. So I'm going to slide these up and we're going to make a card. When I picked up my piece of paper, what I didn't do is measure it. And I had actually, this was a piece that I took a swipe off of to get a thin piece earlier. So let me show you how you go from whoops to fix it. Now I have my really thick die cut that I created on here, so it has some dimension and lift to it. Unfortunately, a regular pass paper trimmer isn't gonna cut that down, so what I'm gonna have to use is a guillotine paper trimmer to trim that down. It gives cleaner edges when you're wanting to trim something like this. So let's see what size my cardstock actually is. All right, so that's 4 1/4 because there's a dotted line right there for me. And what I'm gonna do, split the difference and trim off that. Flip this around, and then I'm gonna take this down to regular old 4, and I'm gonna end up trimming off some of this die cut, which is why I went ahead and did that, which is absolutely fine. And now my length on this, so this is 4, and I wanna make sure that my ratios are correct. So I'm going to take the same amount off the top and the bottom here. And actually what we're going to end up with is something, I need to take a little bit more off the sides so that it's even all the way around. So let me take this down. And this is how you fix boo-boos. I'll take another 1/4 inch off. So I'm going to go off of this side. And this is one thing that I really like about having a guillotine paper trimmer, is it makes it really easy to chop through heavy die cuts like this. Don't get me wrong, a regular paper trimmer is amazing, but when you're doing stuff like that with a heavier cardstock, especially if you have multiple layers, guillotine paper trimmer is amazing. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to get a piece of colored cardstock, and I think I'm going to do Granny Apple Green behind that. Yep, there we go. And I really like using liquid adhesive. If you put the tip down to the paper, you're not going to get very much out. You're going to get just the right amount there. And I like it. It stays down. And Mono Multi actually smells really good. I know that sounds silly, but it does. It smells really good. And your paper's not going to warp or bubble as long as you don't put too much on. If you get a big gloop, like I have a little bit too much here, I'm just going to spread that in the corners. And that's just going to make sure that my paper holds better. And I'm not putting piles of glue on it. And it's not going to warp my paper. I'm not going to bubble it up. If you're wondering why I'm doing this with my knuckle, it's because I have glue on my fingertips, which is absolutely fine. There we go. So our card's all finished. And absolutely love that. Isn't that pretty? It's so delicate looking. Love it.